I've been in the Episcopalian Church since I was born because my family was Catholic and my mother married a divorced man and they refused to marry her in the Catholic Church.
And I've sort of been going about 5 years now. I really didn't want to be part of a church that didn't want me officially. And we looked at several options, and the Episcopal Church in our hometown welcomed us with open arms. In fact, you tell it, Christine, because you tell it well.
But I know what the priest wanted to say was she knew we were a couple and she welcomed us as a couple. What she said was, "We're so glad you're here. Our lesbian couple just moved away."
So we thought, okay, sure, we'll be the tokens. Not a problem. Being in a church that encourages you to use your brain, to question, to think, to explore, to me was a revelation. I had not really understood that this was one of the tenets of the Episcopalian Church before I got involved in going.
I like the fact that the church is open to dialogue, that they're willing to be prophets, to set the bar for the rest of the Christian world.
We've been married 3 times. Okay, we had a commitment ceremony in '92 in front of our friends at Dignity. We had a commitment ceremony at Dignity,
Civil union.
civil union / commitment ceremony. 2005. Yes, I'm now good at dates, she is. And then we actually got married in 2009 when it was legal. I think there's just something about being able to proclaim to everyone and to God your love and your respect and your compassion for another person. I grew up in the South, and you went to church so people didn't talk about you. And it never occurred to me that people actually would want to go to church. Our church, the Episcopal Church, people actually enjoy going. They go for, it fulfills a spiritual need. I've always believed in God, I haven't always believed in church. And this is the closest I've come to believing in a church. Which, for me, if I can digress a little here, is why when we weren't allowed to get married in our church, it was like someone punched me. I felt like I had been disowned by my family. I just felt so awful, so I felt like I had finally found a spiritual home where I was accepted for exactly who I was. I didn't have to hide anything. I didn't have to pretend to be anybody who I wasn't anymore. And then they said, "No, I'm sorry, you can't do that here."
And it was really important for our spiritual family to accept us and love us as we are, because our families didn't.
And they still don't.
Because I believe the church should be like Jesus was, and accept and love and invite all who may be on the fringe or may not be. And right now we're on the fringe in so very many ways, but the church needs to emulate Jesus.
The things that I've read, what churches espouse and such, it just seems to me the Episcopal Church is as close as any I've seen in espousing an actual true Christian relationship with the world. I've been very impressed with the prayer book, with the prayers in the prayer book, how they relate to having consideration for the environment, consideration for how we treat each other, consideration for the sick, consideration for those that are in need of help, and how we need to take care of each other, and all of that.
We want to get married because we love each other, because for the same reason any straight couple wants to get married, because we want our friends to rejoice in our relationship, because we want our church to bless it.
We were not married physically in our church. It was funny. It was really great.
The choir came over and said, a friend of ours who's a congregational minister, the way he put it when I asked if we could rent the church, his church, was, I would be honored if you'd let me marry you. And so how can you not? And what happened was the Episcopalian choir came over and sang in the Congregational Church for our wedding. The Episcopalian ushers came over and ushered for us. The Episcopalian Women's Altar Guild came over and did the altar for us. Some of the women from the Episcopalian Church came over and did the reception for us. Are you seeing the trend here? And basically, the church, depending upon your definition of the church, we were married within our church because the vast majority of our congregation was there celebrating with us. We were not married in the physical plant, but I meant to research what the definition of a church where God says it's not necessarily a or where Jesus says it's not necessarily a building, it's the people. And so our church did bless our marriage.
And we were thankful for that. Some of our friends from our church helped dress us because we have no clue. We wore tuxedos, and I got some red scarves with some red, white, and black scarves that they arranged decoratively so we at least looked interesting.
We couldn't wear gowns, they'd get caught in the wheels.
Yeah, they did. We want to get married. We want to experience the joy that marriage and true, deep spiritual commitment to another human being on this earth gives to you. It's more than just living together. It's more than anything else that you can imagine, because you live every day with the person you love the most in the world, and the person that you just can't describe it. It's more than
And 3 little
anything.
rat dogs.
Well, they don't count. And there's just so much injustice out there in the world that this is something that we can help make right. This is something that can help, one little baby step to help make things a little more right in the world.